You ever look at a wine glass and see your whole life cracked in the reflection? It was a Tuesday. Tuesdays are harmless, too far from the sins of the weekend, too early to spark mischief. That's why I didn't expect anything. That's how betrayal likes it, quiet, like a backdoor breeze. I just finished washing the last dish, her favorite pasta bowl with the tiny chip she always said gave it character. I had it in my hand when I heard her laugh from the driveway. Not a chuckle. Not the tired, fake laugh she'd been saving for me the past few months. This one had life in it. The kind of laugh you share with someone who hasn't seen you ugly cry in sweatpants while eating peanut butter with a spoon. I peeked out the kitchen window. There she was. Natalie, my wife of 12 years. Wearing a sundress I didn't recognize and sunglasses I bought her for our 5th anniversary. She was leaning against a black BMW, convertible top down, of course, laughing like she'd just remembered who she was. And next to her? A man with a tan that didn't belong to anyone with a day job. I stood there, dish in hand, water still running, as I watched this human cologne commercial tuck a strand of her hair behind her ear. She didn't flinch. She leaned into it. That was the moment the bowl slipped from my hand. It hit the sink, didn't shatter, just cracked. A single split down the side, like a metaphor hand-delivered by fate. I turned off the tap. I didn't say a word. Just dried my hands, walked to the front door, and opened it before they had a chance to ring the bell. "Hey," she said, like I was the mailman. He just nodded, like I was a footnote. "And me?" I smiled. Wide. Calm. The way a volcano does the day before it decides it's done being polite. "You must be Logan," the man said, sticking out a hand like we were meeting at a barbecue. I didn't take it. Natalie jumped in, all smiles and spin. "This is Julian. He's a friend." Funny choice of words. Not coworker, not family friend, not even the vague and useful someone from the gym. Just friend, with the kind of delivery you'd use when introducing your new puppy to the neighbor after it's already chewed through their garden hose. Julian's eyes flicked between us. He had that smug stillness some people mistake for confidence. Me? I've been in enough real fights to know stillness like that comes right before a punch. "Well," he said with a casual shrug, "I'll get our bags." Our bags. I didn't say a word. Natalie stepped inside, dragging a suitcase behind her like it was completely normal to waltz back into your marital home with a guy in Ray-Bans and shared luggage. I followed her with my eyes, but I didn't move from the threshold. "Planning a little getaway?" I asked, voice calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that feels like someone pressing a pillow over your face, gently. She sighed. "Look, Logan, we need to talk." "Right?" I said, stepping aside. "You'll want the living room for that. Better acoustics for bombshells." She walked in, just like that. Like she still had the right. Julian lingered outside a beat too long. Like he expected me to swing. I just nodded toward the luggage. "Go on," I said. "It's not going to carry itself." He smirked like a man who's never been hit in the mouth by someone who meant it. Once they were inside, I shut the door slowly. Not a slam. A statement. They sat. On my couch. Her legs tucked up like she still owned comfort in that house. Julian draped an arm over the backrest, casual like he was auditioning for the role of new husband. "Logan," she began. "Save it," I said, finally sitting across from them. "Let me guess. You found something in Julian you haven't felt in years. It wasn't supposed to happen, but here we are." Julian opened his mouth, but I held up a finger. "Not your turn, Beach Boy." Natalie flinched. Her eyes softened for a split second. "It wasn't about you. I felt invisible." I leaned back, crossed my arms. "Funny. That's exactly how you made me feel. Like a ghost with a mortgage." No one said a word for a long moment. Then Julian cleared his throat. "We were hoping you'd be willing to..." "To what? Help you move her things out?" I asked. "Give my blessing? Pose for your Christmas card?" Natalie looked down. I stood. "You've got two options. You can explain this to our lawyer or to Noah when he gets home from soccer practice. But either way, someone's getting the truth tonight." Julian stood too. "There's no need to get ugly, man." I stepped close enough to count the pores on his sun-kissed jaw. "No, Julian. Ugly was parking that car in my driveway." Julian left first. No goodbye. Just a glance over his shoulder like he was expecting me to throw a punch at his spine. I didn't. I'm not a caveman. I'm something worse. Patient. Natalie stayed behind. I shifting between the floor and the walls, like maybe they'd whisper the right thing to say. "You remember when we painted this room?" she asked, voice soft. I nodded. "You picked the wrong color. Said you loved it, then admitted a week later it made you feel like you were living inside a butternut squash. She smiled. Weak. You remembered. Of course I did, I said. I was the one who had to repaint it. She flinched. Good. I walked to the window, staring out at the car Julian had just disappeared into. So, how long? She didn't pretend to misunderstand. That was one of the things I used to love about her, how fast she cut to the truth when it suited her. 6 months, she said. I raised an eyebrow. That's when you started lying to me. When did you start lying to yourself? That one hit. I saw it land. She looked at me, really looked, like she remembered for a second that I wasn't just some background prop in her coming-of-age story. I didn't plan it. No one ever does, I said. Infidelity's never a Google Calendar invite. It's breadcrumbs. And you followed every single one. She took a step closer, like proximity could fix what honesty couldn't. I didn't want to hurt you. Too late. I swear, I didn't love him when it started. I turned then, looked her dead in the eyes. That makes it worse. Silence fell like a dropped vase, sharp and scattered. After a moment, she exhaled. I'm not here to fight. I wanted you to know before everything changes. I nodded slowly. Well, congratulations. Everything already has. She walked to the door, pausing before the threshold. You can hate me if you want. I tilted my head. Oh, Natalie. I don't hate you. I just finally see you. And with that, she stepped outside. The door closed with a click, not a slam. Because betrayal doesn't shout. It whispers. It's amazing how a home can go from sanctuary to crime scene without a single piece of furniture moving. After Natalie left, the house felt different. Not empty, exactly. Just misaligned. Like someone had nudged everything 2 degrees off center. I walked through each room slowly, like I was checking for something stolen. Except nothing had been taken. Not physically. Still, something was missing. Her laugh, fake or not. The scent of her vanilla shampoo clinging to the pillowcases. That irritating hum she made when scrolling through her phone, completely checked out of conversations but still pretending to listen. Gone. I stood in the living room and let the silence settle. I half expected it to whisper something back. Instead, the only sound was the soft creak of the floorboards under my feet, like the house itself was holding its breath. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid in my bed and stared at the ceiling, watching headlights from passing cars dance across the plaster. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I didn't even turn on the TV to distract myself. Instead, I thought. Because while Natalie had spent 6 months weaving a lie, I'd spent years believing one. And somewhere in that fog of midnight stillness, a new feeling took root. Not grief. Not even anger. Purpose. The next morning, I made a pot of coffee strong enough to rewire my DNA and sat down at the dining table with a yellow notepad and a pen. Old school. Like my dad used to do when he balanced our budget down to the penny. I didn't need spreadsheets for this. I needed ink and margin notes. The heading at the top of the page, everything she lied about. I started with the easy stuff. Her affair with Julian. Her Thursday night yoga classes that always ended with her phone on Do Not Disturb. That weekend she flew to Phoenix for a girls' retreat, but posted no photos and came back with a new necklace and a sunburn in the shape of someone else's hands. But the deeper I dug, the more the memories rewrote themselves. Like how she suddenly started sleeping with her phone under her pillow. Or how she changed the Netflix password but claimed it was just a glitch. I remembered asking once if she still loved me, not because I was fishing, but because I genuinely couldn't tell anymore. She had laughed. Not answered. Laughed. I flipped the page and started a new list. People who knew. Because no one cheats in a vacuum. Someone always knows. Her best friend, Michelle, who suddenly got weirdly quiet around me. Her sister, who'd once hinted that Natalie wasn't herself lately. Even Julian, he knew. Obviously. And I'm sure he bragged about it to someone. Which meant this wasn't just betrayal. It was a conspiracy. I closed the notepad and stared at the list. The words blurred, not from tears, but from the weight of clarity. They didn't just break something sacred. They turned me into a punchline. And that's the part that stuck in my ribs like a broken piece of glass. Everyone knew but me. Everyone saw the joke, and I was the poor idiot still rehearsing lines from a play that had already ended. A few days passed. The world didn't stop spinning. I still went to work. I still picked up groceries. I still waved at neighbors who probably pitied me. Natalie sent a text. Can we talk? Just for closure. Closure. That's a cute word. Usually means, can I come back just long enough to make myself feel better? I didn't reply. Instead, I called my buddy Marcus. He's the kind of friend you don't talk to every week, but who shows up when it counts. He answered on the second ring. What's up, Logan? I need a favor, I said. Sure. What kind? The kind you don't ask questions about. He paused. You okay? No, I said, honestly. But I will be. Later that evening, I drove out past the city limits to Marcus's garage, an old warehouse he'd turned into a man cave with too many tools and not enough ventilation. The kind of place you go to fix something, or break it worse. Marcus raised an eyebrow when I showed him the notepad. I take it this isn't your grocery list? It's everyone who watched me drown and passed the popcorn. He didn't laugh. He just nodded and poured 2 glasses of something amber and ancient. So what now? He asked. I looked at the list. At the betrayal stacked column by column. I thought about Julian's smirk. About Natalie's eyes the moment I caught her. About the way people like them build bonfires out of trust and warm their hands by the flame. What now? I repeated. Now I make sure they feel the cold. Marcus sipped his drink. Revenge. I shrugged. Something like that. Dangerous road. I'm not driving, I said, my voice steady. I'm paving. We didn't speak much after that. Just 2 men nursing old whiskey and older wounds. But when I left that garage, I wasn't broken anymore. I was focused. And that's worse. For them. I didn't start with Julian. That would have been too easy too fast. Revenge, if done right, isn't a punch to the face. It's a pull of the thread until the whole suit unravels while the guy's still wearing it. Instead, I started with Paul. Paul, the friend who once toasted my anniversary with a grin and a lie. Paul, who sat on my deck drinking my beer, giving me marriage advice while knowing full well my wife was using hotel towels monogrammed with another man's initials. I saw him first. Thursday night. Same bar he always posted up in. One of those wood-paneled wannabe speakeasies that smells like overpriced bourbon and desperation. I watched from across the room, didn't even bother hiding. He wouldn't have noticed me if I danced across the bar in a tutu. He was laughing with 2 guys I didn't recognize. The kind of laugh that said, I'm comfortable. Untouchable. And that was the exact problem. So I walked up to the bar and ordered a drink. Didn't even sit near him. I just waited. 3 minutes later, one of his buddies squinted. Hey, isn't that the guy? Paul turned and froze. Logan, he said, voice rising like his guilt needed a running start. Man, I didn't. I held up a hand. Save it, I said. I'm not here to fight. He blinked. That confused him. Oh, okay, good, he said. Look, man, I'm sorry. I didn't know how to tell you about Natalie and Not your job to tell me, I said, keeping my voice calm. It was your job to not cheer. Which, by the way, you failed spectacularly at. His friend shifted, watching with vague amusement, like this was some drama they'd stumbled into for free. But hey, I continued, that's the past. Water under the bridge. He relaxed. Too quickly. The guilt turned into arrogance again. Yeah, I mean, it was a rough situation. I just didn't want to get in the middle, you know? I nodded slowly. Totally. Which is why I figured you wouldn't mind if I returned the favor. He frowned. What do you mean? I leaned closer, just enough that he could hear me over the jazz playing. Your wife. Jenny. Cute brunette. Works at the school. She's got a conference next weekend in Chicago, right? His face drained color like someone pulled the plug on his bloodstream. How do you? I don't, I said. Yet. I finished my drink, left a tip, and walked out without another word. That was step 1. Step 2 was Michelle. Natalie's best friend. Keeper of secrets. Her ride or die, though apparently that meant driving over the remains of my marriage with a smile and a Spotify playlist. I didn't threaten Michelle. That would have been beneath me. Instead, I sent her a flower delivery at work. 6 red roses. And a note that read, how's the view from the sidelines? You look great in betrayal. Logan. No signature. No threats. Just a mirror held up at just the right angle. Natalie texted me 2 hours later. Michelle's freaking out. What are you doing? I stared at the screen. Then I typed. Just planting seeds. You were always the gardener. No response after that. Julian, meanwhile, kept popping up in Natalie's Instagram stories. I didn't follow her. I had self-respect, after all, but people sent me screenshots like they were worried I'd missed the show. Him flipping pancakes in my kitchen. Her curled into his side on my couch. It was like watching squatters throw a housewarming party in a home they stole. But I wasn't interested in the social media highlight reel. I wanted the cracks behind the curtain. So I hired Marcus's cousin, Caleb. The kind of guy who says things like, "I work in solutions," and doesn't blink when you ask if he can trace a burner phone. Within a week, I had Julian's credit card records. Not because I cared where he took her, but because I wanted to know what he didn't want people to see. Turns out, Julian liked secrets. Late-night hotel charges. A storage unit registered to an LLC I traced back to him. 3 cash withdrawals, each just under the limit that triggers bank alerts. Interesting guy, Caleb said when he handed over the file. Lot of skeletons. And probably a shovel. I nodded, flipping through the papers. I don't need all of them, I said. Just one good bone. And I found it. Turns out, Julian had a little side hustle. One of those consulting gigs that smells a lot like tax fraud if you squint. So I mailed him a copy of the paperwork. No return address. No explanation. Just a yellow sticky note with 2 words. Oops, IRS. Natalie showed up at my house 3 days later. Furious. You're trying to destroy his life, she shouted the second I opened the door. No, I said. I'm just showing him how easy it is. She pushed past me like she still had a right. You think this makes you the bigger man? She snapped. This is pathetic. I tilted my head. I didn't think it made me anything. But thanks for the feedback. She paced the kitchen, her arms crossed like a barricade. Julian's being investigated now. He's scared. His whole career. Then maybe he should have stuck to making pancakes. She froze. Is this about making me suffer? She asked, quieter now. No, I said, walking to the door. It's about making you remember. You might have cheated with a smile, but I'm the one who gets to leave the scar. And then I opened the door for her. She stood there, stunned, like the ground had just shifted. You've changed, she whispered. I gave her the smallest of smiles. No, Natalie. I've arrived. She left. This time, without a word. And I locked the door behind her. You ever hear the sound of a rumor breaking the sound barrier? Because that's what happened the Monday after Julian got his little envelope of doom. Word got out, quietly at first, whispers between co-workers, side eyes in staff meetings. But then someone dropped the whole story in a group chat like a grenade. By lunchtime, Julian had called out sick. By 2 p.m., HR had already scheduled an emergency meeting. By 5, he'd deleted all his social media. And somewhere in between, Natalie sent me a voicemail. I didn't listen to it. Just watched it sit there in my inbox like a fish on a dry dock, flopping around for air. She wanted sympathy. Maybe even a white flag. I wasn't offering either. That evening, I got a call from an unknown number. Logan, the voice asked, unsure. Speaking. It's Michelle. I waited. Let the silence stretch until it got uncomfortable. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I nearly laughed. You sending a fruit basket too? Or just hoping this call covers your guilt quota? No. I deserve that, she said, voice soft. But I didn't know it would go this far. You didn't know anything. That's your whole problem. She hesitated. Can I ask you something? You just did. Did you ever really love her? I didn't answer right away. Because the truth was slippery, like trying to hold water in your hands. I think I loved the idea of her, I said finally. But the real Natalie? She made me feel small in a house I built. Michelle didn't reply. She didn't have to. I hung up without another word. The next week passed in strange stillness. No new texts. No drive-by visits. Not even a mutual friend trying to play mediator. It was like everyone collectively decided, let Logan be. Which was fine by me. But what nobody tells you is that revenge leaves a kind of hangover, an echo that hums in the quiet parts of the day. On Friday night, I got a knock at the door. Late. The kind of late that means bad news or worse intentions. I opened it to find Noah. Not my son. Not a kid. Noah, Julian's younger brother. He looked like a knockoff Julian. Same cheekbones, less arrogance. Nervous in a way that couldn't be faked. Can I talk to you? He asked, hands in his pockets like a kid caught shoplifting. I stepped aside. He didn't sit. Just hovered like he wasn't sure how welcome he really was. I don't want to take sides, he started. Then you shouldn't be here. He nodded, swallowing hard. I need to understand something. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Go ahead. You destroyed Julian's reputation, he said quietly. And I'm not defending him, but why? That one made me smile. Not wide. Just enough to show him how naive that question was. Because he earned it, I said. Actions have consequences. Tell him welcome to adulthood. He's a mess now, Noah said. Like, a real mess. Drinking. Panicking. He might lose his license. I gave a slow shrug. Should have thought of that before crawling into bed with another man's wife. Noah's shoulders dropped. You don't care what happens to him? I looked him in the eyes, long enough that he fidgeted. I care, I said. I care that he learns something. I care that the next man like him thinks twice. But sympathy? Not in stock. He nodded again, defeated. He said you wouldn't be sorry. I smiled, this time with teeth. Glad he got one thing right. Noah left without another word. Good kid. Wrong side of the chessboard. Saturday morning, I got an email from Natalie. Subject, a request. I opened it, against my better judgment. I know things have gone too far. I know I hurt you. But Julian is in bad shape. And whether you believe it or not, I didn't mean for this to explode the way it did. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want it to stop. Please. Nat. I stared at the screen. This was it. The part in the movie where the audience expects the hero to soften, maybe reflect on how vengeance consumes the soul. But this wasn't a movie. It was real life. And in real life, consequences don't stop when people start crying. So I replied. Actions have echoes. You taught me that. Echoes don't stop because we want silence. Logan. I didn't hear from her again that day. But later that night, Marcus called me. You busy? Not enough to lie about it, I said. You're gonna want to come see this. 10 minutes later, I was parked outside the old rail yard, watching Julian scream at someone I assumed was a business partner. Red-faced. Wild-eyed. Drunk. Whatever shell he'd worn before was cracked wide open now. I didn't send anyone, I said to Marcus. I've been home all day. Word travels, he replied. You just gave it a push. We sat in silence for a few minutes, watching the man unravel. And I realized something important. Revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about showing them the mirror and making sure they don't look away. Because that reflection? It's always worse than anything I could do. I woke up Sunday morning to silence. Not peace. Just absence. An absence of messages, of knocks, of footsteps echoing down the hallway. The house felt clean, but not in the freshly mopped way. More like the aftermath of a crime scene once the cops pack up and the blood's been scrubbed away. I made coffee. Black. Bitter. Exactly the way I'd come to like it lately. I sat at the kitchen table, staring out the window, watching the wind try to bully the trees into swaying. Then came the second knock of the weekend. Soft. Hesitant. Not Natalie. Not Julian. Too polite. I opened the door, and for the first time in what felt like years, I saw someone who looked just as wrecked as I did. Michelle. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her mascara was working overtime and losing. She clutched a paper coffee cup like it was a lifeline. Can I come in? She asked, voice thin. I stepped aside, motioning with a hand. No words. She walked in slowly, like the house itself might reject her. She glanced at the photos still hanging on the wall, the couch Julian sat on, the stairs Natalie used to climb in silence. This was my safe place too, she said quietly. I didn't respond. Just waited. She sat at the table across from me. Took a deep breath. Julian's in the hospital, she said. That landed. I didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Just raised an eyebrow. Alcohol poisoning, she added. He was found in a motel room outside town. They pumped his stomach. Said another hour, and he might have survived. I offered. She looked up sharply. You don't mean that. No, I said calmly. I don't. But I also didn't pour the bottle down his throat. She rubbed her temples. He was arrogant. I know. He broke something sacred. But you, Logan, you shattered him. I leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice level. No. He shattered himself. I just stopped sweeping up the pieces for him. Michelle's eyes filled. She blinked hard. Natalie's not handling it well. I actually laughed. A soft, bitter sound. She lit the match. Can't complain about the smoke. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Michelle pulled something from her purse, a flash drive. I wasn't going to give this to you, she said. But I think you deserve the truth. I took it without a word. What is it? Security footage, she said. From that conference in Phoenix. The hotel had cameras in the hallway. I asked a favor. And, well, you'll see. I didn't ask why she had it. Didn't care. Why now? I asked. She stood. Because I kept defending them in my head. Kept thinking, it wasn't my betrayal. But silence is a form of consent. And I was loud with my quiet. I nodded. That's more honesty than I've heard in months. She turned to leave. Then paused. You could have destroyed her, she said. But you didn't. Not yet, I muttered. She gave me a look I couldn't read, then walked out the door. I stared at the flash drive for a full minute before plugging it into my laptop. The folder had one file, 0419_hallway_cam3.mp4. I clicked play. The video was grainy, black and white. A timestamp blinked in the corner. April 19th, 9:42 p.m. Julian. Shirt unbuttoned, tie askew. He was laughing. Then Natalie appeared. Wearing that blue dress she told me was too fancy for a girl's trip. They kissed. Sloppy. Hungry. He fumbled with the keycard. She leaned into his neck, laughing. A real laugh. My chest went tight, but not with pain. With certainty. This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. 100 little choices that led to this moment. And still, they'd have kept me in the dark if it had stayed convenient. I closed the video, ejected the drive, and I knew what I had to do next. It wasn't about punishment anymore. It was about proof. That evening, I drove to Natalie's condo, the one she moved into when she left, with furniture too modern for comfort and walls painted like catalog pages. She answered the door in leggings and a sweatshirt that tried to say relaxed, but screamed, unraveled. "Logan," she asked, surprised. "I'm not here to yell," I said. "I'm here to end it." Her eyes darted behind me like she expected backup. "I'm listening," she said, stepping aside. I didn't sit. I handed her the flash drive. "Watch it. Keep it. Show it to your therapist. Doesn't matter to me." She turned it over in her hands. "What is this?" "Reality," I said. She swallowed hard. "Is this supposed to hurt me?" "No. It's supposed to remind you," I said, "of what truth looks like when it isn't shaped by guilt." She looked at me, something cracking behind her eyes. "Julian tried to end his life," she whispered. "He tried to end consequences," I corrected. "There's a difference." She nodded. Quiet. Shaking. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a piece of paper. "This is the agreement," I said. "No more calls. No more texts. You keep the condo. I keep the house. No spousal support. No alimony. Just distance." She took it like it burned. "I'll sign it," she whispered. I never thought we'd end up here." I turned to leave. "Natalie," I said, pausing at the door. "Yes. You thought you could burn everything down and then act surprised the flames got hot." And with that, I left. I didn't look back. Because forward? Forward was finally mine again. 2 weeks passed. I didn't hear from Natalie. No late-night texts, no messages asking for, just one conversation. She signed the agreement, filed the papers. Julian disappeared from social media completely. Rumor had it he moved back in with his parents in Florida. Not that I checked. People just love telling me these things. Like tragedy tastes better when it's passed around the table. I didn't respond. I was done eating from that plate. I cleaned the house. Not in the spring cleaning kind of way. I mean really cleaned. Got rid of everything that felt like it whispered her name when I passed by. The throw pillow she picked. The glass hummingbird on the windowsill. Even the coffee mugs. Especially the coffee mugs. I donated most of it, burned a few things in the backyard fire pit, and watched the smoke rise like a priest waving goodbye to old sins. The silence felt different now. Not empty. Open. And then came the letter. An actual letter. No email, no digital footprint. Just a handwritten envelope, no return address, postmarked 2 states over. Inside? A note from Julian. "Logan, I deserve everything. I see that now. I won't make excuses. I won't ask for forgiveness. But I wanted you to know, I never loved her. Not the way you did. Maybe not at all. That doesn't make it better. But maybe it makes it clearer. Do with that what you will. Jay." I folded the note. Didn't tear it. Didn't throw it away. Just filed it under "too late." Michelle sent a message. A simple one. "Still proud of you." I didn't reply, but it meant something. Quiet support. The kind that doesn't need applause. I saw Natalie one more time. Not by design. I was at the grocery store, of all places. A mundane aisle, pushing my cart, grabbing cereal, when she turned the corner. She froze. I didn't. She looked tired. Paler than I remembered. Lighter, maybe, but not in the happy way. In the fragile way. Like someone unspooled just enough to fray. We stood a few feet apart. Just staring. Then she nodded once. And I nodded back. That was it. No words. No apologies. No demands. Just a silent treaty signed between old flames turned casualties. I left my cart and walked out without the cereal. The past doesn't deserve a place in your pantry. Revenge stories aren't supposed to end with peace. People expect fireworks or collapse. But me? I rebuilt. I started running again. Got back into photography. Took a weekend trip solo, just me in the mountains. No itinerary. No one to impress. I found something up there I hadn't seen in a long time. Myself. Turns out, I'd been buried under compromise. Under apologies I didn't owe and expectations I didn't agree to. And when I dug myself out, I wasn't bitter. I was free. The last page of that notepad I'd filled with names and betrayals. I tore it off, lit it, and let the ashes fall into the wind behind my house. Let them scatter. Let them vanish. Because I don't need reminders anymore. I'm not the man Natalie broke. I'm the man who walked through it all and kept walking. And if the stars ever look back on this part of my life, I hope they see a guy who didn't crumble, who didn't become a monster to fight one, who found the edge, looked over, and chose to build wings instead. So here's to being forgotten by the wrong people and remembered by the right ones. I didn't get revenge. I got myself back. And honestly, that's better.